again and welcome back to the channel. Today I am checking out one of my favourite hot toys, the Wolverine from Days of Future Past. Now this is a pretty old figure, released back in 2015. I did get mine probably about 2 years ago on the aftermarket, paid quite a bit for him, and unfortunately I only got the figure and the accessories. I had to get the stand from another place and the box from another supplier to have a complete package, but I'm so pleased that I have him in my collection. And with the 1973 version of the same movie, Days of Future Past, coming out soon, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to take a look at this figure. So starting off with the accessories. Okay, so very light on the accessories, possibly the lightest I've ever come across. So the Wolverine literally comes with 4 hands, or 2 pairs of hands, and a stand. So taking a look at the hands first, he comes with a left and a right relaxed hand. It is quite nice. He has these leather gloves, you can see all the detailing there on the fingers, and he even has the slots here where his claws would come out. A little bit on the boring side, I suppose, but you know, what else are they going to do? And likewise for the fisted hands, same sort of deal. You can see nice sculpting, a nice matte black finish. And then he also comes with a basic crotch grabber stand that just says X-Men Days of Future Past Wolverine. Now we don't commonly see these with Hot Toys anymore. This was a staple 5-6 years ago. Now they have more of a diorama or a more simplified base, but I do like these, particularly with the nameplates, so hopefully they will make a return. But that is it for the accessories. Next up, let's take a look at the head sculpt. Now, I'll give you just a moment just to breathe this in. This is without a doubt one of the best head sculpts I've seen on a 6 scale figure. This is 5, 6, 7 years old now. Gosh, even 8 years old this year, and it still holds up. The new 1973 variant does look ever so slightly better. It looks like they've put some wrinkles in there and they've improved the sculpting for the hair, but this is still a standout. You can tell without a shadow of a doubt who it is. The eyes are really well done. They have this high gloss finish, so you can see the pupils. His iconic mane, very well done. The sculpting is quite subtle, but it has this nice brown. Would have been nice for maybe a couple of flecks of grey in there, because they've certainly put some flecks of grey in the side of his hair here. And then the sculpting for the hair is just next level. Now many of our figures nowadays are going more towards rooted hair. Well, I say many, with Art Toys making a lot of figures now and competing directly with Hot Toys, we are seeing rooted hair, but I think for a figure like this, it just wouldn't work. This is the kind of sculpt to go with. When he has those very iconic wings, I don't know that it could be achieved. I mean, maybe it can, but personally I think sculpting is the way to go. Okay, so taking a closer look at the Wolverine. Now, as I said in the introduction, mine was second hand. He's still in very good condition. There is some slight wear and tear, and this arm is a little bit loose. But other than that, this is pretty much the default look you're going to have him. I doubt that anyone that has this figure is really going to display him without his iconic titanium claws out. It's possible, but I really doubt it. So this is how he would look in a display. Now, taking a close look at the wardrobe, you can see that he has all this body armor. Now, this is a soft, flexible plastic, but it's just sturdy enough that it gives it that real tough look. It looks like some sort of carbon fiber. You can see the pattern over the top here, and it follows round onto the straps. But underneath his catsuit, you can see that he's actually got this slight shade of yellow and then orange following through on the arms. Now, that's not sun bleach, that actually is by design. That is how it's supposed to look. And this catsuit is really, really flexible, so the articulation isn't hindered at all by it. And also on the arms, he has these shoulder pads and these portions of body armor, so none of this is really restricted. On the back, you can see more of this, like this tight, it's almost like Kevlar armor. And then underneath, he has a soft goods belt. And then moving down, the soft goods trousers. They're like these army fatigues. Mine are ever so slightly worn, have a slight grey colour to them. And then on the knee pads, again, he has this elasticated texture for articulation. Again, not hindered because of that. So Hot Toys really took the time and effort to think about the kind of poses you're going to put him in. And then these armor plates on his knees are all floating pieces. You can't take them off, but they are floating, so you can move them around. And likewise with the shin guards. These are boots, but they are separate pieces, so it's like a shin guard and then the boot itself. And again, it's a floating piece and it doesn't hinder anything. The only thing that I will say is if you happen to have the trousers come untucked from underneath the shin guard, it's unlikely, but it has happened to me. It's a bitch to get it back. And the same for the cuff. So you can see on mine, it's ever so slightly frayed here. Now, I've only ever taken the hands off once. I'm not going to do it again because this is the look that I prefer, but it was a bit of a struggle getting hands on and not damaging this. So if you do have this figure, just be cautious of that, because you can see here and it's rather unsightly. It's even worse if that comes off. The end of the catsuit is all frayed, so that's a little bit unfortunate, so just be cautious there. And then the actual claws themselves are really, really sharp. You could actually stab yourself with these. They're quite tough. They are plastic, but they're a tough plastic. It looks like they're die cast, but they're not. If I found out that they were, I would be extremely surprised because they just don't have the weight to them. And I guess that's by design because they don't want to be too heavy on the fists, but they are really, really sharp and very, very realistic. So the figure has really, really good articulation. So let's just quickly go over it. At the head, he gets about that much down, all the way up. He gets side to side. It is on a peg just underneath, and there isn't anything below here, so the neck doesn't move. It's completely fixed. And then at the shoulder, he does have a ball joint. This arm is a little bit loose, so I'll do it with this arm. He does go back to about there, and then forward to about there. He can get all the way out, and that's really about as high as I'm willing to press it, because I don't really want to damage the suit, but you wouldn't really need to go any higher than that. He does have a bicep swivel. He has a double jointed elbow. There is some slight restriction because of the catsuit just stretching ever so slightly, so just be cautious. And then obviously full rotation on the peg at the wrist. At the waist, he can get some decent rotation. Just be careful not to untuck the catsuit. You can see it's just coming out there. And as I said before, it is just a bitch getting it back, so I don't really want it to come out. Ab crunch, not much ab crunch at all. He really isn't going to get anything. And then going back, not too much at all. And again, I don't want this suit to come out. So ab crunch is pretty much non-existent. But moving down to the legs, he gets a decent amount of out. There is some tension here in the trousers, so it gets out to about there. And then back, no, really not back at all. Forward. And then he does have a double jointed knee, Ever so slight restriction here because of the knee pads, but because this is floating, you could manipulate it and get it back even further. And then he has full motion at the ankle on the peg. So mine is ever so slightly loose, and it's only going to get worse with time. I don't really have him in any crazy poses. I tend to just have him kind of looking surly with one claw up and one down. That's about it. Okay, so my final thoughts on the Days of Future Past Wolverine. I have somewhat of a love-hate relationship with this figure, although I'm very grateful that I have it in my collection, particularly now some 6-7 years after its release date, and it is very difficult to get on the secondary market and very expensive. I really love the head sculpt. I think it absolutely nails Hugh Jackman's likeness and the character of the Wolverine. The articulation is also very good. It's not hindered by the wardrobe at all, which in itself is not only very, very well done, but also very movie accurate. But I think where this figure falls over is the accessories. They are ridiculously light. It's almost a joke how light they are. Although I don't know what else he would have come with, something which we should have got is an additional head sculpt. This one is just so well done. It's a shame that we didn't get another one. This is a very neutral look that he has. Give us that angry, mouth open, roaring Wolverine that we're all used to. And it's because of that I just can't put it in that top shelf category. So for me, it's a mid-shelf figure.